The purpose of this video is to give an overview of the EnergyTracker client. The EnergyTracker client essentially is the real-time display for the energy monitoring system. So information from the data processing engine is sent to the EnergyTracker client to display in a colourful and dynamic way. The client itself is an installable component that can be deployed to any number of computer systems. When the EnergyTracker system is installed, the installer for the EnergyTracker client is actually placed into the folder location where the system has been installed, and this can be found under the program files location. The actual installer is this one here, etc. And if you want to deploy this to other computer systems, all you need to do is either copy etc along with this client config file, where the client config file actually tells the EnergyTracker client who to talk to get its energy information from. This is because the client can be deployed to any number of computer systems throughout a business or school or organisation, and it's an excellent tool in facilities like deploying to all the computers in a school, where the kids can actually start the client and see what's going on in the school and have lessons built around energy management and see the cause and effect of turning equipment on and off in the school. The administration staff can use it to track costs and see what their energy consumption is. And for example, principals can use it to make sure that when the school is shut up at night, that everything is turned off, including labs of computer systems, canteens, air conditioning, heating, those sorts of things. It's a very small client. It's only about 12 megabytes in size once installed, and uses very little system resources. And by default, it comes up in this small view, and you'll notice that at the moment it's displaying some energy information with a little green little progress bar that increases and decreases and changes colour as the energy information changes. And we can see we're currently consuming 120 watts according to the information being sent to it. Now, the client can be expanded into 4 different views depending on how much information you want displayed. So we have these coloured little balls on the side here, and obviously the smallest one represents the smallest interface available. If we subsequently click on the next sized one, you'll see that the interface expands out a little bit more, showing more information, and we can see more detail about what's currently going on with our energy information. We can go to the next size up, and we start to see quite a bit more information, such as voltage, some chart information coming up showing energy consumption. And if we go full screen, and this shows us all the detail of the EnergyTracker system, and this is a completely customizable interface. Along the top here we have what's called the gauges, and the gauges show energy information from the site we're actually asking information about. We can change things like the profile of the gauges, so we can change it to a square view, or we can go back to the round view. We have a couple of buttons here called sleep and deep sleep. This is to put your computer into a light sleep and a much heavier sleep, which is the deep sleep. The only difference between the two is the time taken to actually wake them up and the amount of energy it uses when you use these options. And this is to encourage people to shut their computers down but not have to open all their applications up again when they go away for things like meetings or lunch. And this does conserve a fair bit of power if everyone does it in a large organisation. Along the top here we have 2 little drop-down menus. One lists all the sites, and if you've been going through our previous videos, you'll notice that these sites here replicate exactly the sites that we set up in the EnergyTracker administration console. And at the moment, the one with the tick next against it means the gauges that we're viewing at the moment and the energy displayed in the top here is of that site, so head office. So if we had solar, the solar information would be displayed here. At the moment there's none being displayed. And depending on the hardware that you have installed, things like power factor, amperage, voltage may or may not display. Typically for the Class 1 equipment, you'll get all the energy metrics. So that's probably the best way to get information out of your business is to use the Class 1 equipment. And we can change between the sites. We just click on, say, the simulated office one. And this one will bounce around a fair bit because the simulation coming from the data processing engine is a random number generator, so it jumps up and down between certain upper and lower thresholds. It's a good way to just show all the different colours coming through and the different values that can be displayed. So you can see now that the solar gauge is now displaying information. The energy now is jumping up and down. And the real-time chart at the bottom here is leaping about as well. The next menu item is the options, and here we can flick between kilowatt and kilowatt hour mode. The difference being is that by default the client will display kilowatt, which is energy now. So at the sampled interval, you're going to see precisely how much energy you're consuming. When you go to kilowatt hour view, it's an average. So you won't get these peaks and troughs in such sharp spikes. You'll see a gradual increase and decrease as the kilowatt hour average goes up and goes down. And we can do other things like view reports, alarms. We can change the whole way that all the gauges and charts appear. We can force it to always be on top. We can turn on what's called start and kiosk mode. And start and kiosk mode is great for public displays. So you would turn this on, and next time you start the EnergyTracker client, it will actually come up in full screen. So if you have this in the foyer of a school or a business, then this is a great thing for customers or parents and children coming into the building to be able to see all this information. We can do things like rotate the interface. All that does is occasionally flicker between square and round views. It just makes it a little bit more engaging for people that are actually sitting there looking at it. We can do things like change energy production options. We can turn on audible alarms, and we can check for client updates and help and about. Now, I'll go into more detail how to configure the interface and the charts in the next video, but for this time we just want to give you a brief overview of the client. That's it.